Hi, everyone. Welcome. We're at EBC10 here, basically covering the buzzy scene here at Barcelona at the event. With a very special guest with me now. I'm Alona Stein, co-CEO at Reblond Tech PR Agency, sitting here with Zoltan Vardai, breaking news reporter at Cointelegraph. How are you?
Alona, it's great to meet you. It's been an exciting 2 days. And I must say I'm personally very, very excited to be interviewed because the past 2 days I spent interviewing some of the brightest minds in blockchain, Web3 and Web3 gaming. So it's nice to sit on the other side of the chair.
Yeah, we felt like it would be very interesting to also hear from journalists, their perspective and not just talking to the big players in the scene. I think, in my opinion at least, the point of view of journalists are usually the ones that are the most interesting.
I very much appreciate that. And if I may just share my point of view, I feel like this event and the whole year 2024 has mainly been about institutional adoption and the institutional legitimization of crypto. Because obviously we've got the MiCA bill coming up, which is going into effect for crypto service providers at the end of December. And then we also have this interesting thing that happened with the ETFs, whereas it's not a complete regulatory approval from the US, but a lot of people are seeing the Bitcoin ETFs and especially the Ether ETFs as kind of a de facto approval from the SEC and from the securities regulators that crypto really is here to stay. So I feel like this has been a bit of a main conversation here. I feel like these ETFs have really brought a lot of, I would say, confidence, not just confidence for investors, but I feel like people for the first time don't feel like Bitcoin or Ether can disappear from one day to another. So I feel like that has really legitimized the industry. And my takeaway is that most of the institutions are saying the same thing. And they're saying that banks are here, institutions are here, and I guess established players are finally joining crypto.
Yeah, I mean, we've been going through evolution, right? From a complete Wild West market that everyone is just, trying to figure out what's fraud and what isn't. We're now at a much more established, grounded, forward-facing market. And that's great for institutions, of course, that can come in and share their wealth as well. So any specific companies or trends that you have seen here on the floor in those 2 days that you feel like are more interesting or perhaps provide a good perspective on what we have coming in the future?
It's very hard to single out one company, but just to go with the topic of this institutional adoption and institutional legitimization of Web3, I would have to mention Bitpanda. I've had a fireside chat with them yesterday. Bitpanda is one of the leading crypto fintechs in Europe, and it's Austria's first unicorn companies. Why Bitpanda is so interesting for me is because they just partnered with Societe Generale, which is the 19th largest bank in the world, for a stablecoin, for a euro-denominated stablecoin. And why this is all kind of culminating now is because they're preparing for the first session of the MiCA, and they want to serve the European market with a stablecoin. And I feel like firms like Bitpanda, which offer infrastructure, which offer go-to-market strategies and so much more, will be really important because we have all these banks and all these TradFi. They really have no idea how to go about just whole crypto and Web3 and stablecoin thing. So I feel like I have to shout out Bitpanda and shout them out for their continued institutional adoption. They're also working with Deutsche Bank, and I'm sure they have a lot more partnerships in the pipeline, especially after we see MiCA drop in December.
Yeah, sure. So talking to all these companies here and, as part of your ongoing work, do you feel like they put a lot of weight on what's going to happen with the U.S. election coming up in the next couple of weeks? Like, are they considering whether or not it's going to affect the industry, yes or no? What are you hearing from them?
I love how you touch on this because I feel like the U.S. election is kind of like the elephant in the room right now. Even though the U.S. is the biggest economy in the world, and they kind of dictate the pace of global regulations in terms of financial technology, I feel like for the first time they're lagging behind. And it's interesting because the first time, also speaking to the wider adoption of the industry, crypto has become a focal point of the US elections, and for the first time, votes could potentially swing because of crypto. On the other hand, I must mention that I feel like there's still a bit of an unclarity because Trump is often being seen as the pro-crypto candidate, whereas this is also something I mentioned during our panel discussion. He's not always delivering on his promises in terms of he was supposed to launch a crypto platform on September 16th. That didn't quite happen, right? It could still happen, but my personal concern is that just because a candidate promises everything for crypto and blah blah blah, it doesn't necessarily translate into regulations when they get into office. So it's still going to be a huge I feel like it's going to be a huge divide building up to it, but I simply feel like both parties will be forced to adopt more crypto friendly policies just because of the voters and just because of these younger generations wanting crypto exposure.
Okay. So we'll go a bit of a macro perspective now outside of like the day-to-day life of the event. So you're a breaking news reporter. Do you want to maybe share with the audience what does that mean for you, like how your day-to-day look like, what do you focus on?
Sure. So as a breaking news reporter, as Cointelegraph's first breaking news reporter, by the way, which I'm extremely proud of, if I may say that, it's breaking news for people that don't know is news that is either market changing, meaning that it will shift markets upwards or downwards, or whether it's something very, very significant that happened in the past few minutes, few hours. So from my perspective, it's quite difficult, obviously, because it's not like a commodities market or a regular market. I think the first thing for me is keeping in touch with everyone, which is why conferences like this are so important. And even if I don't find the breaking news here, the relationships that I forge and the partnerships I get is often what leads me to the breaking news, which is, if it doesn't come through these partnerships, it usually comes through data, which is something that we have to find, we have to go through. And sometimes I must say it's really quite disheartening because at times I look at data and I aggregate data for 3 hours only to end up with no story, right?
Yeah, that's a very interesting take. I think I'm not sure the audience is that well aware of the differences between the different news segments in the news. So thank you for that. Anything you'd like to add maybe that we haven't touched upon, or you want to kind of like take the stage and share with the world?
It's very hard to just say one thing after having so many great conversations and not just the panels and firesides, but so many great interviews. I think one thing I'm very interested in is what will happen in the next year until 2030. We've obviously heard this 2030 being floated around, not just by crypto, but also by TradFi. I feel like the road to 2030 will kind of become this battleground between cryptocurrencies, stablecoins, and decentralized technologies versus central bank digital currencies. And I don't mean to steal the spotlight here, but I'm extremely concerned about CBDCs, and I'm extremely concerned about the types of controls that they are going to award central banks, because I feel like central banks have become less trustworthy throughout the years. I feel like the monetary debasement they've led us to is nearly unprecedented. We haven't seen such inflation in nearly 14 years. Obviously now it's coming down, but I feel like changing paper money to digital money, if it goes into CBDCs, we're giving from most of the control to central banks, we're giving them all the control. So I think this is kind of a battleground that needs to be fought. And I like to quote Vitalik Buterin on this. During Token 2049, he said that the industry needs practicality and it needs decentralization. But we can't quite sacrifice decentralization for practicality. I feel like this is the same with the future of money as well. Right now, stablecoin infrastructure or DeFi infrastructure may not be where banking infrastructure is, but we really need to look at what we're sacrificing with CBDCs and why giving all the power to the banks.
It's very interesting take. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for your time, Aluna.
Of course.
We had a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.